at you today from our conference room. Again, welcome to Fit for Life. For any new faces that I may not have met before, my name is Anna. I'm a kinesiologist, exercise specialist for the Aspen Primary Care Network here in West Block. So today we are going to be using a TheraBand. If you don't have one of these, feel free to come by the PCN, and we do have them for sale. And I'm also using for a couple exercises today a weight, but you can use anything for a weight in your home. You can use a water bottle, a filled up water bottle, about this size is about 2 pounds. You can use a bigger water bottle, you can use soup cans, you can really use anything. I just happen to have these guys kicking around, so I'm going to use one of those. And I have my appropriate exercise footwear on, and of course, as usual, do these exercises at your own risk. Aspen PCN does not have any liability should anything happen during these videos, so make sure you're being safe. So let's get up and get started. We're going to start with our warm-up. As usual, nice high knees. I'm going to aim to keep these videos around 30 minutes, between 30 to 40 minutes. I realize my last one went a little bit long, but we're all learning how to make do here. So my goal is to do about a 30-minute video. We want to make sure that we still get a good, global, well-rounded strengthening program. We want to make sure we include the whole body. I like to usually focus on one side a little bit, like on one part a little bit more than others. We did a lot of hip stuff last one. We're going to do some more hip stuff today. At some point, we're going to get into shoulders and things like that. But we want to have a well-rounded exercise program. I always want to make sure I include balance, and I want to make sure I get those stretches at the end. Okay? So nice high knees. Get the arms involved a little bit if you can. We're marching to our jaunty music. And good knees there. We should start to feel our breath working a little bit. And let's do our polka. Nice polka here. Light on the toes. Grab a partner if you have one. If not, that's okay. Try not to crash around your living room too much there. Good job. Nice and light on the toes. Wonderful. And let's do our hip swings. Make sure you're not kicking the wall behind you. Need to make sure I'm not doing the same here. Nice big hip swings. Feel that hip warming up. Stabilizing hip has to do some work. And the other side. At some point, we're going to be using the walls in our exercises as well. So think about that. If you have a patch of wall in your house that you can do some exercises with, won't be anything crazy, but I'd like to include some wall push-ups one of these days. Okay? Nice arm circles, starting small, getting bigger. Nice big arm circles, and then we're changing directions. Nice and big, and getting smaller again. Okay, you might have a bit of crunching and stuff going on in your shoulders. Typically, if it doesn't hurt, I'm not super concerned. If it does hurt, it's a good time to see somebody. All right. So we're going to start off our strengthening doing these exercises that I call a lunge up. So we did a static lunge last time where we didn't really move. This time we're going to kind of thrust up with that lunge. So I want you to have a nice step back. Have your chair nearby for balance if you need it. We're going to start low and we're going to come up and then coming down. Coming up and down. Up and down. Keep going. I'm going to change to the side so you can see what's going on here. Keep going. We're coming up and back and thrusting up. Make sure you're paying attention to your balance. Notice how my lunge is still going down. I'm not lunging forward. Okay, switch sides. Do the other side. Nice big step and then thrusting up, coming down. You can make this a little bit easier by not going so far down. All right, do your back step and just come down a little bit and then come up. Do a bit of a quarter lunge, right? We don't have to go all the way down if it's not comfortable to do so. Even doing that back step and lunging forward might be enough. Everybody has different things going on with their knees. If you can do the full version, that's great. It does get better with practice. Lunges are wonderful things, and they're one of the top ones that people say, I can't do that because of my knees. Well, I'm here to tell you, it does get better with practice and with good form. So let's do our next one. Make sure my board is lining up here. Some side leg raises. We're going to try not to tip. Hold on to your chair, up to the side, coming on back in. Slow it on down, come on back in. Try to do a bit of a pause at the top, come on back in. Make sure you're not sticking your butt out. We want to be straight through the hip and not leaning, okay? Nice and straight through the hip. A few more on this side. And good job. Last one, you're not tipping either, okay? Switch sides. We're going to keep our balance. Coming out, coming on back in. Slowly coming back. If you can, do a pause at the top. I don't want to see this, okay? That's not controlled. It's not challenging those postural muscles. I want you to keep nice straight hips. Come out, come slowly down. Pause and back. And pause and back. Working that wonderful abductor gluteus medius is working here amongst a few other muscles. This is really good and helpful in through balancing the hips like we were working last week. I've been on a big hip rant lately. Healthy hips, happy hips, strong hips. Okay, good job. All right, let's do the next one. It's going to be a little bit more on the side. I'm going to keep my chair kind of back. I like having it there if I need it. We're going to do that sort of semi-squat here, but my feet are going to be wider apart. All right, so you can kind of come down that far. Lower you come down, harder it's going to be. Okay, so I'm coming down, and I'm going to do this. It's called my monster walk. Okay, I'm going to come out to the side and touch. I'm staying down, side and touch, and side and touch. I'm staying low in that ready position, okay? And touch. You should feel that big and strong. Over and touch. Over. If you need to take a break, that's okay. Monster walk. Making sure my knees are not starting to drift too far over those toes. Touch. over, touch. Stand up, give yourself a little bit of a wiggle around. We're gonna do a few more of those. So we're dropping down into ready. Feet are a little bit wider than hip width, coming on down, okay? A little wider, and big step, and touch. Step, and touch. Keep going if you can. If this is too tough, you can straighten up a little bit, okay? Don't squat down so far. But going into that squat, big work through the hips. Slow and controlled. Good job. And coming on out. Good job. All right, next one. We're gonna do some bird dogs. Again, I'm going to modify using the chair. Traditionally, this is done actually on a mat on the floor, but we're gonna use our chair. So I've got my chair in front of me here. I'm going to get nicely into tabletop position. You can see how nice and straight my back is. I'm going to extend one arm ahead, and we're going to take the opposite leg and bringing that leg back. So try not to hit the table there. Nice and straight. Make sure you're still breathing, and hold and relax. I'm going to move my chair a bit forward here, okay? Tabletop position. Take the other arm, extend forward, and opposite hip, extending back. Very nice. Holding strong, squeezing the glute, and squeezing this shoulder down. We're not crunching it up by our ear, okay? Make sure your shoulder is nicely squeezed back along your spine. Other side. First take the arm, then take the opposite leg. Nice extension. Stay nice and straight. Are your hips nice and square to the floor? You're not twisting anywhere. We're not flying off here. Hold, breathe, and down. If this is too hard to combine, feel free to just do one limb at a time, okay? Taking the arm, and if you can, take the opposite leg and reach. Remember to breathe, making sure we get a good glute squeeze here. Shoulders nicely down the spine. And make sure you're breathing. This is really good stabilization for the back. Okay? Good job. Whew. Take a quick breath. Take a drink of water if you need one. It's important you stay hydrated. And we're going to do some heel toe raises. Slow things down here a bit. I'm sweating in my office clothes here. Okay? Up on the tippy toes, bringing those toes up. And rocking on the heels, bringing the toes up. Remembering the most important thing here is that we are not sticking our butt out, okay? Up and up. It's pretty hard not to counter with those hips. Make sure you're not falling over. So I like to have something for balance here. Bringing those toes up. Good job. Up. A few more. And trying your best to activate those shins. And good job. All right. What's next? We got some chair squats. Okay? Chair squats, just like before, we're eventually going to play around a lot with these guys, but I want to make sure that form is the most important thing and that it's being achieved. Feet are a little wider than hip width apart, and I'm making sure I'm aiming for the chair, and we're going to come down to touch and coming back up. Now, if this is too difficult, if this is going to cause you a lot of pain, feel free to modify this as you need to. Do a quarter squat. That's just fine. Do a sit to stand and come on up. That's just fine. It's important that our knees are in a happy position here. Again, as we get stronger, it will get easier. practice does help, and practicing in proper form is what's the most important part here, because if we keep practicing the wrong thing, we're just going to hurt ourselves, right? So doing a quarter squat is fine. Doing a sit to stand is fine, okay? Do where you feel happiest here. And we can still make this harder, and we will, but for now, some nice touches there. Make sure when you're coming up all together. We're not coming down and then sort of leading with the legs and then coming up. You can see when I come up all together, okay? Make sure your hips are going with your knees nicely and you're not straightening your hips. You're not straightening your knees before you're straightening your hips. Probably pretty confusing. But we're practicing working those big muscles. Such a functional, important movement to be able to do. Okay? Whew. Good job. And we get to sit down. Okay? So take your band, take your weight or your water bottle if you need to. Next one we're going to do is the seated clamshell. So with this one, I'm going to take my band, I'm going to wrap it around my knees nicely. My feet are going to stay together. So I hope you guys can see well here. Feet are going to stay together. I'm holding the band and keeping this knee stable. And then this one, bringing out to the side. Okay? Nice rotation coming from the hip. All right? Working those hip rotators. Nice work in through there. All right? Now, using our rules from the FIT principle, our intensity here, we want to think the first few times we did it, it should have felt pretty easy. And now that we've been doing it for a little while, we should be starting to feel some fatigue in through that hip rotator. If you're not feeling any fatigue by the time you get into the higher repetitions, maybe come get a stronger band, okay? Or you could wrap the band around your knees twice for this one and increase the intensity pretty good. Okay, let's do the other side. Wrapping that band, keeping this knee stable now. We're gonna come out to the side. My left hip is a lot tighter than my right. I can feel that right away. So we're doing a nice clamshell here. Okay. Really important that we stretch those little muscles in the glutes, but it's important that they are strong as well. The happiest muscles are both flexible and strong, and so that is why it's so important to have a well-rounded program. So the only thing that we're really missing from our 30 to 40 minutes here is a good walk, but I trust that you guys can do that on your own. Okay, a few more. Remember, slow and controlled. We're not letting that band spring us back. And great job. Okay, for the next one, that's the one that I'm going to use the weight for. So you can use the weight, but like I said, water bottle, soup can. For this one, even if you use a cushion, it's really, the weight is good, but it's the squeezing motion that is going to help as well, okay? So I'm sitting a little further back in my chair for this one. I'm going to hold this weight between my feet. So you can use a sandbag, you can use anything here. I'm holding the weight between my feet and I have to squeeze it a little bit to hold on to it. We're going to do a bilateral knee extension, straightening the knees in front of us. Okay? Trying my best not to drop that weight. All right? Now I'm not using very much weight here. I've got a little 3-pounder. But because I have to do that squeeze, combined with the extension, it's pretty difficult, okay? We're really feeling that in through the front of the legs, the quads here, and particularly the inner quad. We have a little part in here called vastus medialis oblique, and it is one of the traditional ones that is targeted for curing knee pain and just helps to stabilize that knee. I talk a lot about how important it is to strengthen the hamstrings and the glutes, but we need to make sure that these guys are firing, of course, properly as well. We should be feeling that warmth, bit of a burn in through here. Try to do a few more. Remember, you guys can stop at any time and take a break as you need to at home. Please pace yourselves properly as you need to, okay? Good job. All right, let me check my list here. I think I'm on track. We're gonna do our seated row. So back to our basic bands. You guys have seen this before. One of the nicest, easiest ones we can do at home. So I've got that band wrapped around my feet. My legs are pretty straight out in front of me. We're gonna row the boat nicely back here. You can also use a doorknob. You can use the band looped around a doorknob. It's quite a nice height. A problem that I see people doing when they wrap it around their feet here is they kind of pull up, all right? It's all this focus on coming up like that, right? I don't want that. I want a nice straight line to your chest. And one of the most important parts here is I want those shoulders squeezing together and coming back. And I want you to make sure that those shoulders are staying down. All right? I said shoulders, not elbows. Elbows can come out to the side, but those shoulders aren't crunching up to the ears like they are so tempted to always do. My posture is really nice here. Okay? Let's do some chest press. Bringing that band behind our back. I'm going to start nicely at the armpits, and I'm going to come out. All right? Straight out. Notice how I have a nice line from the chest here, and I'm really trying to control the release with these bands. Okay? Making sure we control the release. Good job. Slow and controlled. Make those postural muscles have to work. Make that rotator cuff have to stabilize the shoulder. Make sure your shoulders aren't curling forward when you do this. I want those shoulder blades to stay nicely back on your spine where they're supposed to be. I'll have to dedicate one of these videos to posture one of these days. Nicely coming out and coming back. Slow and controlled. Good job. Let's do our bicep curls. Standing, well, having that band under my feet this time, we're going to keep the elbows tucked and just hinging at the elbow, curling those hands up, really trying to control the release. Okay, good job. Slow and controlled. Posture is good. Very straight through my back. Now, if you start to put your back into this, or you feel like you're hoisting like that, I want you to maybe slow down and just do one at a time, okay? And alternate. If you're starting to stress out your back too much doing this, bring it down a little bit, okay? We're not hoisting anything, and there's nothing wrong with doing it one at a time or two at a time, okay? Slow and controlled. I always shake on that controlled release, okay? Triceps. We're going to Hold the band in one hand, bring it across to your shoulder. Nice high grip here. Again, my elbows staying fairly tucked this time. Shoulders down, and I'm going to push my hand straight down. So nice side view here, coming straight down. All right, slow and controlled on the release, and making sure you're not letting this shoulder drift up to your ear, and that elbow stays where it's supposed to be. Okay, nicely down and slow on the release. Okay, I'm all about doing things slow and controlled. It's going to make it so much safer for you when you do have to do things a little quicker. Other side, holding the band, bring it across to your shoulder. Take one of your tails here on a pretty high grip and coming on down and controlled. Like I said in the last video, there's nothing wrong with having two strengths of bands at home. I like to have a lighter one for when I'm doing some more finicky work through the rotator cuff in the shoulder, and when I'm doing more finicky stuff in the rotators of the hips. But then you get into these bigger exercises like the row and the chest press and the bicep curls, and even these triceps, sometimes you want to have a stronger band. So you can try and see, if you find you're not being challenged enough, try grabbing both tails, and we all of a sudden get a lot stronger. Or you can come in and get a stronger band if you want, or a lighter band if you need. Okay, we do a lot of work with these little TheraBands. So versatile. Check that shoulder. Make sure that it's not drifting up. Okay, keeping your posture good. And a couple more here. Wonderful. All right, I am going to take my weight again for our core exercise today is going to be our tuck and press. So I am going to first off make sure that I'm nicely engaged in through my abdomen. I've got that strong transverse abdominis activation that we talked about in the last video. We briefly went over it actually, but making sure you're engaged through your core is important. So for this one, we're going to, again, semi-recline. I'm activated. I'm going to do my chair sideways here for you guys. We're going to semi-recline. I'm going to tuck and press. And tuck and press. And you can use a water bottle. You can use a soup can. You can use a pillow. You can use nothing, and this is still hard. Okay, tuck and press. Making sure we're not leaning against the chair there. I mean, if you need to take a break, that's great, but I'm not sitting here having coffee, okay? We're going to make sure we're activated. Tuck and press. Tuck, press. Tuck, press. Keep going. Make sure you're breathing. Ways that you can make this easier. You can put your feet down when you're coming out, when you're doing your press. Or try to do, maybe you just can do one leg at a time. That's okay. All right, there's ways that you can modify this. Sit a little bit further back in your seat. That can make it easier. Actually lean against here. Some people might just be able to do that press and trying to tuck a little bit. There's nothing wrong with that. I would much rather modify the exercise slightly and keep your form nice. You see, I'm still very protected in through my back here. Then have you trying to do the hardest version and sacrificing your posture and your form, because that is the way that people get hurt, okay? Take a breath, take a minute. Let's see if we can do 5 more, okay? Nicely activated, semi-recline, tuck and press. We should be starting to feel that. Press, tuck, press, straight through the back, and press. Don't drop any weights on your head, and press. And I hope that's 5 because I'm terrible at counting. Okay? So, put your weight down, make sure you're still breathing. We're gonna get up and do our balance exercise here. Okay? Oh, too much stuff all over the place. Okay, so for our balance, as usual, we're going to make sure we have our chair close by here. We're going to check in with our tandem stand. So remember, tandem means that I'm standing heel to toe, and I'm very nice on a line here. I'm not letting my feet come, like my heels come in or out here. So I really like doing balance exercises in the kitchen because the countertop is a really nice height, but you also have nice lines that you can line up your feet with. So this is a great exercise to check in with. See how strong you're feeling. Are you able to do this with no hands? If you can't do this with no hands, switch your feet. If you feel like you need to be holding on to something, that's fine, but see if you can challenge yourself by using less and less fingers. Do you have to use a whole hand, or can you use a pinky finger to balance yourself? Check your hips here. Are you sticking your butt out, or are you nice and straight through your posture? Feel your feet. Are you grounded through the 4 corners of your feet, on the front of your foot, and in through the back of your heel? Transfer your weight a little bit. See where your hips are. So much that we can play with in balance. So if you want to stay in tandem, that's enough of a challenge, that's fine. If you're comfortable going on one foot, let's do that now. Standing on one foot. Make sure your leg is soft here. Give it a bit of a swing, and your knee is going to be soft as well. Okay? If you can, do this with no hands. If you need to have a finger on, that's fine. And then see, soft through the knee. If you can just touch to the front and coming on back up. And can you touch to the side? Come on back up. Soft through the knee. My knee bends slightly here. Touch to the back and come on up. Let's do the other foot. Okay? Nice. Find your foot. Make sure your hips are even here. Soft through this swinging leg. And we're going to soften the standing knee. We're going to reach forward to just touch to the front. I'm not putting any weight on that foot when I do my touch. Just touch to the side, and then just touch to the back. Okay? Good job. So we're going to finish off with some stretches, and then I still encourage you to do a walk. Like I said, I'm trying to keep around 30 minutes, but we'll see how it goes. All right, nice neck stretch here to start out with. Our rules for stretching generally, now this is for most stretches, not all stretches. We like to see about 20 to 30 second hold, repeating 2 to 3 times. So if you have a nagging issue that feels really tight and you find that one of these stretches really speaks into that, and you want to do it on your own at home, that's fine. It's always good to come talk to a therapist. It can be one of us here at the PCN, or it can be a physiotherapist, but they can really help with which stretches are the most appropriate. Or if you want to pick one of these ones that you really like, to 30 seconds, slow and gentle, 2 to 3 times. Nice twist. And make sure you're still breathing when you do your stretches. A lot of us tend to hold our breath. With this one, really make sure you're following with your neck. A lot of us think about twisting our torso, but I want you to think about how important it is to be able to do a shoulder check in your car. So make sure you're following and you're twisting right from your seat all the way through to the top of your head. Okay? I'm going to do a couple of these reaches here because they feel really good. This is the one that I really don't hold for very long. I'm sure you could. But just nice and big and open through both sides of the ribs there. Okay? We're going to do our modified hip flexor stretch here. So I sit with one cheek and one leg on the chair here. I'm going to reach back with this other leg, with my free leg, and I'm reaching that heel as far back as I can. We're going for a pull in through the front of the hip here. If this is not comfortable, that's fine. Just take a breather. This should be feeling really good in through here. It's a modified lunge. Typically, this is given without the chair, and I just feel like I'm about to fall over. So we're going to just use our chair here, do a nice big lunge. All right, feels really good. My left one is way tighter than my right. I'm just going to demonstrate to the side here. Let's do the other side again. We're reaching back at that heel, and we're feeling a nice stretch in through the front of the hip there. Of course, making sure that you're not falling off of your chair. I'm nicely supported in through that side. My hips are trying to stay very nice and square, pointing to the front. And I'm getting a lot of nice space here. Making sure as well that you're not arching your back too much. If you need to support yourself, don't let your back start to hurt here. Don't want that. Okay, doing our glute stretch, modified figure 4. Feeling that after those monster walks. Nice and tall, ankle over the knee. We're tall in through the chest and just hinging forward slightly at the hip. Never pushing this knee down or forcing it down. Switch sides. I'm going to turn here so you can see a little better. Ankle onto the knee. Sitting very nice and tall and just hinging forward slightly. We feel a big pull in through the glute, the side of the leg, sometimes even into the inner thigh on that one. Let's do the other side again. Ankle onto knee, sit nice and tall, hinging. Very good. As usual, remembering that if you have a replaced hip, please don't do this one. Go talk to somebody. There's more appropriate stretches that we can do. Other side. And if you're feeling like you have any intense stabbing joint pain with this, please stop and wait until we go on to the next one. All right, that has to go with anything. If you feel like you have significant pain with any of these exercises, feel free to just take a breather. Hamstrings, so I'm stretching the back of the leg. Plant the heel. I'm going to turn here for you guys. Plant the heel. Engage the toe towards you, and you're going to hinge forward slightly, and I'm feeling a big pull in through the back of the leg here. Should have turned the other way. All right, let's do the other side. Plant the heel, engage the toe, My knee is fairly engaged here. You can see I'm not locking it back. I'm kind of making a muscle with this big quad muscle here, drawing that toe and that knee up. So I'm engaged, and I'm going to hinge forward slightly at the hip. I'm not curling my back and trying to reach my toe. That's not the goal. Other side, plant the heel, engage the toe, straight and tall, hinging slightly at the hip, very open through the chest. Very effective way of stretching the hamstrings. And last one on the other side. Plant the heel, engage the toe, tall, and hinge. All right, sometimes just doing this with the heel, the toe, and sitting tall might be enough to feel a really big pull in through the back of the leg there. Okay, making sure we're never losing our posture. All right, that's all we're going to do for today. Again, I encourage you to go out for a walk, especially while the weather is still holding up and there's no snow. But going for a walk as well in a place like the Spirit Center is a great choice also, especially while they're open. So make sure if you do have any problems or questions or concerns or anything like that, you can always give me a call at the office. Mostly everybody knows where to reach me. And make sure you stay safe and stay healthy and have a great week.